Gothic architecture was the first called the French style, Opus Francesum. The word Gothic was used later during the Renaissance an insult relating to the ancient Goths. An Italian writer named Giorgio Vasari used the word Gothic in 1530 because he thought buildings from the Middle Ages were not careful, but plain and measured like Renaissance buildings or the building of ancient Rome. He said that as the barbaric Goths had destroyed the classical world, so this modern art has destroyed the architecture of the 12th century. After Vasari, many other people used the word Gothic to describe architecture with pointing arch.
At the end of the 12th century, Western Europe was split into different states which were beginning to become the countries that are known today. The Holy Roman Empire ruled a big part of Europe, including the modern countries of Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Austria, eastern France, and much of northern Italy, apart from Venice. Historians believe Emperor Charlemagne began the Holy Roman Empire in 800 AD. The countries of France and Spain were split into kingdoms. England was ruled by a king whose family also had a lot of land in France. Norway was influenced by England, while the other Scandinavian countries and Poland were influenced by Germany.
At that time, there was a lot of trade between towns and states. This caused the towns to grow large. Germany, Holland, and Belgium had many big towns that grew peacefully. Others traded with each other because of the height and width of these towns. They saw the really by buildings how town has. Others with buried towers. In England and France, most people did not live in towers. They lived on farms, which were often owned by rich noblemen or lords. The house of the lord was usually called a manor house. Italy was split up into small city-states, which often fought each other. Cities often had huge walls on many of the houses, which at this time were tall, huge towers.
In Western Europe, in the Middle Ages, almost everyone belonged to the Roman Catholic Church. The Roman Catholic Church has one head, the Pope, during the Middle Ages. One language was used in churches all across Europe, ecclesiastical Latin, sometimes called Church Latin, which had developed from Ancient Latin. The church of each area had a local bishop who came under the Pope. Each bishop had a throne where he could sit when priests and people came to him. A church which a bishop's throne is called a cathedral. Cathedrals were usually the biggest and most beautiful cathedrals. In the early Middle Ages, many monasteries were built all over Europe. A group of holy men lived and worked and prayed there. Monks belonged to different orders which had different rules.
The biggest number of monasteries were homes to the monks of the Benedictine order. Their monasteries were generally in towns, and they often built very big churches called abbeys for the monks and the townspeople to worship in. Other orders of monks, like the Cistercians, did not live near towns. Nowadays, their abbeys are seen as beautiful ruins in the English countryside. In France, there were also Benedictines, as well as Cluniac orders. The great monastery at Cluny, built in the Romanesque style, was the biggest in Europe. The abbey and other buildings were very well planned, so for hundreds of years other monasteries were influenced by that plan.
In 1127, Suger had the idea to rebuild the great abbey church of Saint Denis. He began by changing the west front, or facade, which was about 200 years old and had only one small door. Suger's grand design had three big doors, like the arches on the Arch of Constantine in Rome, which were to let in all the crowd on special holidays. The facade also had a big round window in the center, called a rose window, which was the first in France. But Suger did not then rebuild the part of the church inside the west doors, the nave where most of ordinary people stood. The next part that he rebuilt was the eastern end.
About Suga wanted this part to make people think of heaven. He wanted it to be very light and bright, with great big windows of beautiful colored glass. To do this he looked at the most modern design and all the clever things that other architects had done. He put all the new ideas together in one building. It was the first building of the new Gothic style, but of course it was not called Gothic, and this time it was called the French style. The new east end was dedicated or given to God on June 11, 1144. Other architects had copied the design for other big churches and cathedrals in northern France. After about Sugar's death, the rest of the church was also rebuilt in the new style and got two much larger and more decorated rose windows, one on either side. The style soon spread to England and through France, the Low Country, Germany, Spain, and north of Italy and Sicily.